So, you never thought you'd see me, you real pieces of sh**. If you've lost faith in me, in my ability to actually react to sh**, well, unfortunately, you're very much in the wrong. And at the same time, I really just don't like disloyal. But at the same time, if you're sorry, I'm willing to just forget about it and just let you watch and consume content all day long, including mine, because let's just be real, I am a casual guy on the internet, still a small fry, and I'd rather keep my naivete instead of knowing everything. I'd rather keep opinions to myself, and if I want to study something, fine, I will, but not to the point of overcorrecting someone every time. I'm not that type. Best you deal with it. Today, I'm going to be reacting to a video from Legal Mindset titled Somali Attempts Last Minute Apology. Okay, now he live streamed this. Andrew actually live streamed this, and we're soon going to be seeing a conclusion to Johnny Somali's reign of public nuisance tyranny to an end. Because let's just be real, we do not need public nuisances who are also nuisance streamers, okay? I wish that the likes of Vitaly Zadorevsky had actually taken multiple years being incarcerated over him being released and he streams back on Kick like an annoying douchebag. Even if he has this good image of catching child predators, as he always says on his quotes, okay? I'm just saying, if you're going to actually broadcast yourself to the internet, which you have every right to do, which you have every ability to do within your privilege, the least you can do is be responsible and appropriate. And whether you do or do not like any criticisms that come your way, it does not give you an excuse to be absolutely evil incarnate in front of the camera. Do you get what I'm saying right now? So anyways, we're going to be watching this update. We're just going to be watching this update, and I just had to shorten it because it is pretty, well, I'm just looking forward to actually seeing this all end, all right? I'm just looking forward to it actually ending. All of it. That's how I want it. Let's just be real. We need to see an end of all this. We need to really see an end to this because we need to put public nuisances away for good if it needs to be like that. Anytime that there is a nuisance on the internet and they become nuisances on the streets, they got to be put away. We've been waiting for a while to see where the hearings are going to and the trials. And finally, we're going to see a conclusion in April 2026. Now, hopefully, it really does happen that we see this conclusion. Now, let's check what Andrew has to say about this.
What is up, everybody? It's your boy, Andrew Esquire. Good evening, good morning, good night, wherever you are. It's Legal Mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. And we have a good live today where I actually have an update.
By the way, he live streamed this, I think, 9-10 hours ago from the time of this recording, by the way. So, yeah.
My fast facts I recorded earlier today, and it didn't have the information that I wanted to give you. It's very short today. We don't have a lot, but it's very interesting in terms of these last-minute apologies. So when I recorded my fast facts, we had one official apology. Now we technically have two. And I'm going to explain to you the new one we got just today. Brand new news. So
wait, so he apologized once and then he apologized again? Too late! Too late! You had so many chances of actually apologizing legitimately. They were not sincere. People saw through it. But did you address what people's concerns are with you being insincere about your apologies back then? No. You did not backpedal on any activity in relation to nuisance activity. Okay? Never at all did you even back down from it. Never at all did you change your delivery when it comes to the content that you think is for all audiences, okay? In this case, you're not being creative. In this case, you're not being clever. You think you're being clever by actually profiting from what your own orbiters are actually telling you what to do. But to be real, you're absolutely very stupid, Mr. Ramzi Khalid Ismail, aka Johnny Somali. You're very much stupid, and you kept living in that stupidity until it all comes back to bite you. You're never going to live this down because you're going to spend multiple years in prison. Multiple years. You had every chance to be sincere in backing down from your nuisance activity, and not once did you backpedal in all sincere ways possible, and it brought you to this point of apologizing so desperately that you'd be willing to do it repeatedly until people listen to you. Well, unfortunately, they tried listening to you, and all they saw from you was rage bait, trolling. All they saw from you, Mr. Ramzi Khalid Ismail, all they saw from you is rage bait, trolling, absolutely. And for that, I am not sorry. You deserve entirely what is coming to you.
We'll get all that out to you guys today. Hopefully everything's all right. So, okay, somebody said the sound is weird. Let me make sure I'm using the right mic. Make sure I'm using the right mic. Make sure everything's good. Let's double check this. Yeah, everything should be just all right. Oh, no, hold on. No, it's not. Now it is. No, hold on. I had to scuff it.
Are you guys enjoying the stream today?
Wrong mic settings. Okay, yeah, that happens. Boomered it already on the spot. Gosh, guys, I'm not perfect with this, with everything.
By the way, you guys should actually know that Andrew does not just deal with public nuisances or nuisance streamers at all. He deals with other stuff too, with other internet issues like other streamers as well as other trending stuff. Like, well, Amaru, if you guys actually are catching up to the any notifications in regards to that issue, the One True King drama. I'm not entirely following all of it because it's not exactly in my main interest at the moment. But if there are policies that are actually going to affect different streamers and content creators, I might actually get back to reacting to those because those are very important if you're actually starting off as content creators of any kind. The worst that you should not be is an IRL streamer who does give highlights, sure, but basically it's all for clout with no structure. Basically, you need structure. We all need structure. But if all you're going to actually offer us is your body, your smiles, your laughs, and no, you need more than that to actually pass as a content creator. You need so much more. And no, I am not going to be in the level of Mr. Beast type of content creator. Absolutely not. He's so much worse. He caters to kids and not in the best ways possible. So I hate public nuisances like Vitaly Zadorevsky and Johnny Somali, and I hate absolutely two legit content creators like Jimmy Donaldson. Anyways, let's resume from here.
So we're getting ready here, as I scuff things, we're getting ready to go into the trial, the last part of it, right, which is the sentencing and the verdict on the 15th. But an important thing to understand about the trial and about everything going on right now is that what's called the case in chief, what's called in the US, right, you'd say the presentation of evidence, bringing in witnesses, filings that are taken seriously by the court, that is all done. The closing arguments for the trial were on the 27th of February. So at that point, by the 27th of February, if there was evidence to be considered, if there was something that the sides were both going to debate or get into or take into consideration, that should have already been considered and submitted to the court. So just understand that at this point where we're at trial, we're at the point where the judge is just, okay, I'm going to make my sentencing decision.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it. So that's the period where we're at in this trial. I was going to make a video on this, and I may make a video on this, on Hassan complaining that people called him an anti-Semite. And the funny thing is for Hassan, in the case of Hassan Piker, he even said he's not going to do it. He did, musing back and forth. The thing is, he said he's called an anti-Semite, but he mentions a bunch of other people that that are called anti-Semites in the article, right?
Okay, let me just state my stance when it comes to Hassan Piker. There are some views that are correct, but there are some views that are just politically disconnected from everyone, okay? I only take some of his points, but the majority of them just come from political ego. Unfortunately, he gets to a point that he's like Donald Trump, except he's on the other side and he's a radicalist. Look, as much as I like left-leaning views, if you cannot get yourself under control in front of the camera, what is the use of people actually listening to you? I would rather not be rage baiting and then finding out the hard way that opportunities get taken away from me. He might be a content creator at some point, but the last time you actually... I should not keep reliving the fact that I am not speaking to Hassan Piker and just deluding myself to speaking to Hassan Piker. No, the likes of him will not listen to the likes of me. I am a small fry. I don't matter. But at the same time, I could be, maybe, in my perspective, a voice of reason. I'm not expecting to be a voice of reason. And he doesn't want to listen to people who have more sense than him, so him. We're moving on. Hassan Piker, if he doesn't let go of his egotistical bullshittery, if he doesn't let go of that side of him, even if some viewpoints are appreciated from him, unfortunately, he is invalidating his own stancing because his personality does not equate to a safe and ideal choice to follow. Even if he is left-leaning, if he has an ego, consider his a red flag.
And, it doesn't matter if you're right, left, whatever. There's a reason why that's not something in the US that people take action on. And that's because generally calling people a bigot or calling people anti-Semite or whatever, or a supremacist or anything is not typically defamation in the United States under the current rules, right? So it's not calling someone a criminal because it's not a crime to have those views in the United States. You can have horrible views in the United States and it's not criminal, right? It's only when you take a criminal action on top of that, like if you were to go commit a hate crime, that would be something that is indeed illegal. So yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. The funniest thing about today's episode and what I have to tell you guys today is that we actually need times to do this thing. And he completely ignored that. Absolutely 100% ignored the very, very simple do this thing, which would get him out of the trouble that he's in right now.
Emotional cabbage.
Also, I have
emotional cabbage. Okay. Have I seen that before? Okay.
No. Sans.
Yeah. Hassan saw the Afroman trial and decided not to sue. Because let's just be real. Okay, Afroman was wronged. Even if the cops didn't pursue charges because they didn't find any evidence of Afroman being a shitter, here's the thing. They still broke his stuff. They still went through his stuff. Because let's just be real. Okay? Even the cops could get inappropriate, especially if they're desperate. All right? Unfortunately, that's a part of reality that we have to accept. If desperate cops can't find anything, there were desperate measures just for them to find something. Sometimes it would work, but at most times when you're desperate and you don't have a plan, it absolutely backfires on you.
Yeah, defamation is not easy. It's not something that's a layup, particularly as a public figure. And he's a public figure. It's not going to be easy to prove malice. So let's get into Somali's too late apology, shall we? So Ramzi Khalid Ismail trial is over, except for the sentencing date. So everything in terms of the evidence, everything, argument back and forth, that's all done. That's the 27th. The only thing is the judge considering how much time am I giving this guy?
Ramzi Khalid Ismail trial is over, except for sentencing late on the sentencing date on April 15th. RKI stated an in-court apology during closing. RKI proceeded to attack Koreans and Korean culture following his court apology? I'm sorry. RKI, can you blame Koreans for being angry at you if you keep showing that you are a public nuisance and that you should actually be put in prison? Can you blame them? Do you want to invalidate them and what they saw from you? I'm sorry, but first impressions are everything to a tourist. And you showed something that is not considered the best first impression. In fact, they're the worst first impressions you would have as a tourist. You are a visitor, not a citizen of South Korea. And you keep testing ethical limitations of people who just want to live in peace. No matter what kind of knowledge you have over a certain peoples, if you are a visitor, you are expected to follow local laws, rules, traditions. If you never did research and your only purpose there is to stream because your chat wants to see you want chat to see you, you're not promoting Korea. You're promoting yourself. You promote another country, it will increase tourism. You do badly planned stunts and activities that do not help the tourism of the country you're visiting. And of course, you're going to get ganged on by not only civilians, but by law enforcement and the prosecution system of that country and the different localities of different regions in the country as well. If you are not aware of this from the beginning and you just winged it as a tourist, I am not sorry that this is happening to you. Not once am I sorry. You did that to yourself.
That's it. So in terms of apologies, he gave an in-court apology during his closing on February 27th. He then proceeded on March 5th, just days later actually, to attack Koreans, Korean culture, and blame low IQ, dumb, say that they're going to get taken over in World War III. He insulted Koreans after his in-court apology, right? And then, of course, we called him out on this channel, right? Other people covered this, and I pointed out, as I pointed out before, that he still hasn't submitted an official apology, right? But now he finally, after all this time, finally submitted what is a letter of apology.
But let's just be real, it's too late. Ramzi, I am very sorry. Well, actually, I am not sorry that you have not only been crushed in court, but every chance you have for getting out of this clean has basically 0% chance. Get
Somali, but I was told if I apologize at the beginning, they'd be nicer. Also, Somali, I'm apologizing now. Why aren't they being nicer to me?
It's not going to work. Yeah, that's right.
Here's what the filing is, because I know I have a lot of doubters out there, whatever else. But here's the official court filings. You can see the previous filings he made regarding evidence and amendment of the indictment. But here on 317, this is Pigoin, which is defendant, right? So defendant, and this is submitting a letter of reflection, right? So a letter of reflection is the official term for an official apology. And that's something that in every single Korean normal court case, you see multiple, usually, filings of letters of reflection. Right? Usually, at least one, but usually multiple. And during the trial, at the very beginning, they go, we are very sorry. We are so sorry. The Korean system is set up for you to apologize and then take a lighter sentence. So you apologize sincerely. If you did something wrong, maybe you pay them back. You do something to try to compensate for that or make up for that, right? The victim and make the victim whole. And you apologize sincerely. And you often do that multiple times.
Yes.
We are going to show Youngman's here. So Youngman is a Korean streamer. He's the one.
Wow. He is dedicated to making sure that his actual image is kept cleaner. Look, Youngman is not perfect, but god damn, 7 letters? And no, 8th and last letter after the trial. Oh my god. That is damn. You apologize so many times to the point that your absolutely reflecting on your actions. That shows your character in wanting to change and wanting to change for the better. That's what people appreciate. Johnny, he didn't do shit once.
That he is the brick through the window in Korea, and that's why he's in jail. He was part of the protest related to the coup or the Yoon situation, right? So he threw a brick through a window during that. But he also was involved in a deepfake with Johnny. Youngman had a deepfake of, there was Hank and Johnny, Johnny's community made a deepfake of, or Johnny himself, made a deepfake of Hank and Youngman making out while they're naked, right? So Hank and Youngman are making out while they're naked, right? And Johnny showed that, and Youngman showed that. And they tried to reach an agreement, a settlement, to not pursue charges against each other. Unfortunately for both of them, the prosecutor didn't drop the charges. The prosecutor did not drop the charges against Youngman or against Johnny. So the prosecutor said, I don't give a shit. And I'm going to put some money in the swear jar for that. Swear jar action for this. I don't give a damn about your settlement between you two criminals. I don't give a damn about it. We are going to continue to charge you with the deepfake crime. But you can see here, Youngman, his trial started in June. Johnny's trial started in March of last year.
Shall return in a bit. Sorry, I had to sell some things, but yeah, here we go. Let's get back to it.
March of last year, less time. His trial started in June, ended in January. Johnny's trial started in March, ended in February, right? That's the end of the actual trial. That's the last date of the official trial, right? Before sentencing. Look how many letters he sent. He sent a letter in June, 2 letters in July, 2 letters in August, a letter in October, a letter in November. And then, yes, he did an and one letter after the trial is over.
You have more character if you keep sending reflections, especially if what you have done is absolutely wrong. Considering that it was a deepfake and it's definitely frowned poorly on, Youngman did the right thing, submitting multiple letters instead of a few. That's a lot. That's 8 letters, okay? That builds character, that builds rapport, okay? Johnny didn't do shit. He does not reflect. He barely does that. The first and last letter, March 17th, he did not reflect. We absolutely know why, okay? Because it's not in his nature. Well, if it's not in his nature, okay, let me just be real with you. If it is not in your nature to say sorry that you did something illegal, fuck you, you're going to prison. It seems simple to me.
But the reason is you do that is because it shows you're sincere. At that point, he'd sent so many letters that it shows, hey, I am genuinely sincere. I'm really
You
apologetic.
show good character, you get off easier. That's how it is.
Consistent about my apology. I haven't taken it back or only done it when I felt the consequences of my actions. I'm doing it to show you I'm 100% genuine and 100% real. Johnny was crickets for all of this time. Not a single letter of reflection, not a single official apology, nothing until afterwards. And at this point, the judge is under no obligation to take in any extra evidence or anything else that's filed. At this point, the judge doesn't have to look at anything else, doesn't have to look at any other letters, doesn't have to do anything else. Of course, people can still write stuff to the court and submit stuff to the court. That is possible. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But the judge is under no obligation to look at it. And at this point, talking to people in Korea that have a lot of experience with this, the judge is not going to factor that in because that should have been something done beforehand. And now we have another submission as well. Ryobi said RKI is ready to give an apology like Riku Tatsumi. Yeah, that's exactly right.
I think Riku Tazumi is, from Niji Sanji. Yeah. Let me just search it up. If I'm right, it's Riku Tazumi, the CEO, once CEO. Riku Tazumi. Yeah, of Niji Sanji. His apology was Yes. His apology was So is Johnny Somali's apology, I'm sure. Okay, it's the first and last letter, but I think the apology is shit. He's not sincere. He is not reflective.
Oh, that's right. He's going to get what he deserves. I don't want to be very clear with the lawyer. I'm not saying the lawyer is incompetent, but lawyers in Korea often tell you a little bit late and often will tell you the bare minimum that you need to know, right? You don't need, technically, you don't need to hold trial where you never submit this, right? But it's a cultural thing that is part of the judicial culture and part of the procedure that somebody who's Korean would know about. Hey, I should write an apology letter, right? That would be something normal if you knew the Korean system, you're familiar with the Korean system, that you're going to write a letter of reflection. So it's one of those things where I'm not sure whether he just didn't tell him, or at some point he was like, okay, you can do it, or Johnny just heard it from our streams, heard it from me, heard it, from multiple other sources that know about this, that have talked about this, and said, hey, yeah, where's your letter of reflection? Because we've talked about this on this channel, about a letter of reflection about an official apology.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So he could have just listened to my streams, and that maybe he picked it up from a former one. I have no idea. Who knows? No, there never can be.
Yes.
Well, I think he realizes he's going to get consequences now.
He's going to get absolute consequences, not only by not showing that he is not reflective, he is not repenting at all. He will just be irrelevant in multiple years. It's just, no. He won't be saved this time. He will not be saved.
because a lot of eyeballs on this. So I think that's why he finally submitted this reflection letter. But understand there's a lot to counterweight that reflection letter. And we're going to get into that a little bit today and more on a future episode as well. Well, I think what the judge will do is will reflect that in his sentencing. So I still think the sentencing is going to be along the lines of the prosecutor's recommendation.
Okay.
I still believe that he's going to get 2 to 3 years as a sentence. I still think that's very viable. I think 1 would be too little in my opinion. 2 is just right with labor and sex offender registration. So once again, I think that sex offender registration and that labor, very important. Nobody ever paid attention to him. And understand, in the case of Vitaly at least got the attention of the embassy.
Yes. Unlike Johnny Somali, because Johnny Somali is definitely in the gutter.
Nobody out there made any official statement about Johnny Somali, not once. Nobody really cared about it, right? From any side, left, right, whatever. Nobody wanted a piece of this guy, as it should be, right?
So, as it should be. Basically, Johnny Somali, no one wants to claim you. If you are a son of someone, and if you're asking someone to adopt you, they would be adopting the single most annoying child that they do not want in their family. That's what you are. Annoying, unhinged, and undesirable. And again, I'm saying, I am not sorry.
So here's a new one. This just happened today. We now have his mom getting involved. Now, I've been very strict.
Oh my God, he is done. She has had enough of him, and Johnny Somali's mother submitted a statement to the court. A likely apology and plea for leniency on his... That's not going to happen. Oh my God. Oh my God. Now that the mother is getting involved, oh my God. I don't think they're gonna follow up on it. And if they do, Johnny Somali would never be allowed back on the internet again, the same way he got back into it before. He's probably never going to get back that easily onto the internet ever again after this. If there's a miracle at all that the Korean justice system would actually allow the mom's submission to be a factor as to have Johnny Somali be released back into the world. But that will not happen. That's not realism. Okay?
On this, and I want to kind of focus here about not getting his parents involved, not getting people, not going into who they are, what they are, whatever. So I'm only mentioning this information because of this submittal. Otherwise, as you guys know, and if anybody follow my channel, I try to not involve people that are not directly related. And when they remove themselves from the case, I kind of remove my coverage of them. Sort of like with Hank. Hank injected himself more in the case in the beginning. Now Hank is pulled back, so I don't really talk about Hank, right? Because Hank's not involved, so there's no point in talking about Hank. Even though like a lot of Hank, I leave that alone because he's kind of withdrawn himself. But the mom stepped up here. So this is very interesting. So just today, you see on the 23rd, you have Piguin family. So it's a parent rather. So you have the parents, the defendant, right? That submitted a petition, essentially. So essentially, this is Johnny, and just to put out the background here, Johnny and his family are estranged. So apparently, they don't talk very much, right? They had an estranged relationship. His mother did not come see him, and when he was, having trouble in Japan, his mother and father have not been to any of the criminal hearings. Possible, if possible, his mom could be coming there. Yeah, what's that, mom? Yeah, but it's possible his mom could come to the last hearing. That's very possible. But all we know is she submitted a statement to the court. The most likely prediction is this is a plea for leniency and an apology on his behalf. So probably saying, hey, I'm his mom, take pity on him, right? Sentence him leniently, don't throw him in jail forever, right? That is there. Right. So that's mom, right? So the defendant's mom, essentially. But this is a little too late. Once again, like the other apology, this comes after the trial is over, after the case in chief is over. So in my judgment here, these apologies, both of these apologies, and Somali, are too late, right? The trial is already over.
It's already over.
And we had a submission from the Johnny Somali conviction team. I'm going to go over that submission with you guys in a future episode. We're going to put that together. I'm working with the team to put that together and show you guys what we submitted. We submitted our evidence in April of 2025. Let me say that again. April of 2025. This case started March of last year, March of 2025. We got on top of this and submitted within a month, because we knew it was important for the prosecutor and judge to have the evidence, right, and understand Johnny Somali's psychology and his tactics. So they were informed of that back then, and they went in knowing, oh, this is going to happen. And when we submitted that last year, we predicted that Johnny Somali would apologize. Now, we had no idea it would take him this long to submit an official apology. We thought he would try to submit an official apology.
He didn't even make the effort to even save himself with the apology letters. It just never occurred to him to actually think outside the box a little bit and get all the way to another perspective to see that reflections matter. No, he doesn't do that. He doesn't take it to another perspective to actually see that. Once again, I'm saying it. I am not sorry.
At some point, maybe earlier, whatever else, right? But that didn't happen. But we said, hey, this is why you can't take it seriously. And we laid that out. I'm going to show you guys how we laid it out in the evidence we had on a future video, right? We're going to go through that. But we've already blocked this, right? By saying, hey, here's why his apologies are bullshit. And here's why you can't take it seriously. And here's why he will make Korea a laughingstock if you take it seriously. So I still think all of this stuff is likely this submittals from Johnny and even from his mom are likely not to be taken seriously. His apology won't be taken as sincere. I still predict a 2 to 3 year sentence, regardless of any of that.
One even take Johnny Somali seriously. He keeps baiting us to the point that he is actually sorry, except he goes back the next hour or the next day, actually just undoing the kind of stance that he has in regards to that apology. I said it once, I'm saying it again. I am not sorry. And no one should be.
So that's what I have for you guys today with this. It's once again too little too late from Johnny Somali, and I do not think that's going to get him anywhere. So that's what I have today. Not going to extend this longer than it needs to. Stick around though, catch the fast facts that has the real summarized version here, and we'll talk to you guys all later. Peace!
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Andrew Esquire, for that update. Let me just tell you guys, I never settled for anything less than a multi-year conviction. And that's what I was always looking for in regards to Vitaly Zdorovetsky. Ever since he dared humiliate multiple Filipinos just because he is always the type to test boundaries and law enforcement, to the point that you would actually start criticizing the penal system, but only routing it back to the point that only his clout matters. Seriously. And he has the right to complain, and he has the right to actually complain about the penal system himself, actually got himself there. I'm sorry, and he also has to pull Filipinos in to actually get in trouble just for his bullshit? I'm sorry, Vitaly Zdorovetsky, but you are pathetic. You showed me that you are pathetic behind the cell. Johnny Somali would have the worst time ever because he will be conducting labor just as accordingly when it comes to his sentence. Okay? Vitaly Zdorovetsky, your stay in the penal system of the Philippines is underwhelming. You need to stay for more than a year. It's not enough, but at least as a consolation, we get to see a nuisance personified finally getting what's his. Ramsey Khalid Johnny Somali Ismail is going to get exactly what he deserves. Not only is he not going to let this live him down, he's not going to let this live him down, but his relevance would be crashing down so quick. And again, I am saying it, I am not sorry. So nuisances can get. I'm just going to go get a glass of water because I'm just happy that this actually came to be. Yeah.